In a world where many people see reality as a circle or a rectangle, the truth is that issues are cylinders. Rather than a two-dimensional understanding, we will flush out the three-dimension complexities through nuanced conversation and civil, respectable discourse to highlight all perspectives on controversial issues. I'm your host, William Roosh, a high school teacher who's trying to transform education as we know it. Welcome to the Anti-Echo Chamber. This is Cylinder Radio. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Cylinder Radio. Today is a multi-part kind of little sections of different stories of entrepreneurship during COVID. And my first guest is a former student of mine who we just talked off the air, graduated in 2008. So I've been doing this for a while, and he's like a grown-up now. It's been for a while. And he is doing some amazing things with 3D printing and PPE, and I've been following what he's doing on Facebook, and I urge you to as well to see what he's up to. His name is Chris Knight. Chris, thanks for coming on, and it's good to see you, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
So tell us a little bit of your background. Like, one of the things that I think that I'm trying to promote during this time is look at what skills you have. What assets do you have? What materials do you have around you? And then how can you use these abilities and tangible things as well to try and contribute to the greater good of in this kind of crazy unprecedented situation we're in. So what's your background? What do you do for a living? Things like that.
Okay, so I spent about 10 years as a visual effects artist, working mostly on television. In the last couple of years, I transitioned from doing the actual artwork to writing code for the, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do about this.
Take it. You need to take it?
No, I'll just tell him not to call back. It was actually your other student, Jesse.
Your brother?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Should I just start where I was going to start?
Oh yeah. So just a little bit of just your background. You said you were doing visual effects and things like that.
Okay, yeah. So I spent 10 years roughly as a visual effects artist, and then transitioned into coding. While I was doing that, some of the technologies that were coming out were like 3D printers when they were very young. I went in on one with a friend, and then I had another one. It turns out I actually hate 3D printers. It's kind of a pain in the ass to run them. So when this happened, we were looking for different things to do because I'm not medically trained. One of my brothers is, and he's out there and he's volunteering, but I'm not one to kind of like sit out a fight. So I wanted to do something, and it was kind of driving me nuts. It was actually my grandmother who first, she wanted to knit masks or sew masks, and she sat down to do it, and her sewing machine broke. So I went on Facebook and I mentioned what it was happening. And within moments, I got like 3 offers for sewing machines for her because people had a lot of energy that they wanted to put into trying to make things better. A lot of people were feeling the same thing I was feeling. We have a lot of energy. You want to do something. You don't quite know what.
Yeah.
So once we got her up and running with the new machine, it was kind of pretty clear that that's really what people wanted, was to get involved and to help. And it was a few days after that I actually just read an article of some father and son up in Santa Clarita that were doing some 3D printing of masks and stuff like that. I was like, hey, I've got one of those things. So I went into the shop here and dug through like a pile of stuff, found the printer, and the damn thing turned on. It worked. So I started printing out the masks and testing them out. Me and my brothers were going over them, different ways to construct them, stuff like that. And there was a lot of potential. I just started posting about that on different social media outlets just to see what people thought about it. And we have several friends that are in the medical field, so EMTs and nurses, stuff like that. And they were kind of excited about it. I didn't want to pull the trigger right away, so I had a very limited production at the beginning. But we actually went into an ambulance company and had the mask professionally fit test. So once that happened, I was like, okay, I've got a product that will help people. I've got, sorry, waiting for the truck to drive by.
No worries.
I've got the skill set to do it. my production being background, or my background being production for television, it's very much a step-by-step process. You try to optimize everything that you can. And I've got my customer base, which is not the people that are going to be receiving the PPE. It was actually the people that wanted to help. So that's really who I was selling to. So basically, I told them I could do it. If they wanted to get involved, they could and help fund it. And we started out with one printer. I now have 6. There are 5 in this room that I'm in right now, up and running. One that is being has some maintenance being done on it. We had a donation. This one right behind me. It's a $2,500 printer that my buddy uses to do cosplay and stuff like that. So again, the business model is giving people the ability to help in general, and then to make good on that, we have several products that we're putting out to different places like dialysis centers, nurses up in the Bay Area, adult daycare clinics, stuff like that.
Okay, so a couple of questions. So one is, like you have to meet certain standards, right? Like certain standards for the mask, or is it just like, does it have to, when you said fit tested, it has to meet certain standards in order for you to give it to people in the like first responders and people in the healthcare industry, or no?
So one thing that's been happening is people will bring their 3D printed masks. They just found a file online, and they kind of threw it together, and then they give it to the company. And the company's like, well, I can't really do anything with this because, you know, it's porous or it has different holes and stuff like that. So my brother, being an EMT, we went through his company and his supervisor. I'm not going to name them for obvious reasons.
For sure.
Because it's kind of an unofficial thing. And they basically told us the standards that we needed to meet. And then they had the rig for testing, like actual fit tested N95s and stuff like that, which essentially you put a big bag over your head while you're wearing the mask, and they pump in a really obnoxious gas. Like, it will taste bad. It's very gross. And if you could do some jumping jacks and bend down and walk around and not taste it, then it passes.
So were you there for those tests? Were you kind of like biting your nails, like, all right, let's see what happens here?
I was at home biting my nails.
Okay,
because, you know, it's an unofficial thing. Nobody wants to get sued.
Right.
It's actually one of the big things that people have warned me about, is getting sued. I'm like, well, if this mask saves a life or I get sued, hopefully I don't. And I'm not selling this to anyone. And the kits actually have a full set of instructions that say that this is not approved. I didn't design the mask. It's actually one of the more common 3D printed designs. It was a mask that was done up in Montana. I forget the doctor's name, unfortunately, but I can send you that later.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of the process for that. That's also only one of the products. There's another mask that we're doing for USC, and that we're not doing the entire mask. We're not doing any fit tests or anything on that. We're actually just printing components of that mask.
Okay.
And those components basically get boxed up. There's a packaging slip, and we drive down to USC about once a week and drop them off there. And then they take them, disinfect them, and do the rest of the assembly of those products.
And this shop is all out of your house?
Yeah. So my garage is a workshop.
Okay.
We're actually flipping this house. So
okay.
This is our general work area. The table where we're doing all the disinfecting is actually my welding table.
Oh, cool. What's one of the biggest setbacks that you've had?
So one of the major setbacks that we ran into was there's a general lack of understanding of how 3D printers work and what the actual capability is. And my background is not sales. So trying to actually do the selling of these ideas was hard. There was one instance in particular. There was a dialysis clinic up in Santa Clarita, and they had originally asked us for masks. And when I finally got a hold of the woman, she had sent me on the website, she sent me an email. When I finally got a hold of her, they had received a shipment of masks, but they didn't have face shields. And so she asked me if I had those, and the answer was no, I didn't have those. That wasn't a product that we were actually making. And I tried to tell her, like, that I had other things that we could send them to help. And she, not very rude or anything like that, she just kind of wanted to get off the phone, and she got off the phone. There's such a gigantic community behind 3D printing that I didn't take that to heart. I just went onto the community and I looked up these shields. There was a design that was there. Some guy made it, and I downloaded it. And within 1 hour, I was holding a prototype in my hand. I put it on. I took some pictures, sent it to her, and she's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry that I got off the phone." And so the cool thing was, having not ever made the product before, within 36 hours, we got her to have her superiors approve the design, and 25 units delivered. No, it's rapid prototyping. That's what it's for.
Okay. Okay. And and this is, you said you're not in this for profit. This is kind of designed to be a nonprofit where any money coming in or donations just get rolled right back into expanding the operation.
Either expanding or continuing.
Yeah.
So there's a capacity thing. Two of us that are working on this also have full-time jobs.
So you're not taking a salary from this?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I could, and we do have the ability to expand the model that it would work. But again, I do have I'm gainfully employed, thankfully. So,
well, so that gets me to really what I'm trying to push out here with this podcast is not just information or not just entertainment, but trying to get people to think about something. Like, what was it that led you to step up? Because this is a lot of effort, man. Like it's about the execution. It's not about ideas. Everyone has ideas. I want to help. It's the people who actually are out there executing it. And it's just, I mean, and like entrepreneurship is, it's jumping off a cliff and building a parachute on the way down. It's like, you got to really hustle for this. And it's a lot of work that you didn't need to do. Do you think that this was like, what was it when COVID showed up that you, Chris, were like, you know what? I'm going to step up and I'm going to do something to contribute to this. And you said, I'm not one to back down. That's actually the way I remember you back when you were like a 16-year-old kid is, you didn't like, you didn't care like if it was an adult or whatever, you would be like, well, no, I'm going to voice my opinion here. And this is the way it is. And it's one of the things I always liked about you. But do you think this is partially your personality, or what was it that got you to say, I'm committing a lot of energy to this? And is it something that we can kind of, scale, get it out there, like a mentality that people can have?
As far as the mentality, a couple things. First off, it's kind of taking ownership of the world around you. This isn't a disease that's happening out there. This is a disease that's happening to my people in my city, in my state, in my country, on my planet. And the idea that I'm just going to let my stuff get ruined like this and not do anything about it is just absurd to me. So I needed to do something. The other thing is, as far as the actual business model, it was identifying a product. The product, I needed to get involved. And I don't think that that's uncommon. So the reason I was able to put all this effort in is because I'm giving myself the same thing I'm selling to everyone that is donating to the project, because it's, again, trying to get out there and trying to do something to stand up, to fight.
Yeah. I kind of break down teaching, like my, career, and what I do is into two different things. One is how to build motivation for people that just don't want to get up off their butt or don't want to learn. And then the other one is direction, like which direction to go into. I think a lot of people struggle with the motivation. They say they want to help, but they don't really know. But you need kind of both parts, and the direction of, well, here's what you can do. And if you have these resources, you have a 3D printer laying around, you can donate it to someone. You can donate money, you can donate time, you can do a lot of things. But if everyone feels like they have some ownership during this time right now, like they're contributing to something, I know that you're kind of, annoyed with the polarization in the country as it stands right now. And obviously so am I, and that's what my podcast is all about. And if we can line up shoulder to shoulder and have this common goal, then a lot of the, red state, blue state, elephant, donkey nonsense can go away. And we can see this as like, we're all trying our best. What can we contribute to? Who needs help? And I think it's really a way to heal us as a country. And everyone can step in and just do something. I really love what you're doing. I think it's really important.
Thank you. And right now is actually a huge opportunity for anyone that wants to do something, even if it is actually, it sounds like I'm making it sound selfish, but even if it is just starting a business, COVID is here to stay for a long time.
Yeah.
And there are things that are out there that there's holes that need to be filled. You're going to be going back into a classroom, I'm assuming, this fall. That's going to be a dangerous situation for you. That's going to be a dangerous situation for the kids. Things are going to have to be drastically different. And we don't yet know what that's going to look like. And there's a lot of opportunity there to innovate, to develop systems, either online if you're doing coding or products. There's a little girl, I think she was in Washington, that has like a foldable hug, which she could put in the doorway of grandparents, and it has little sleeves so you can do a hug safely. Yeah. There's a lot of things out there right now, and there's a lot of opportunity, and it's not going away. So this is a great time for anybody to step up, either just get involved, rebuild their lives, even if they're just doing it for themselves. That means that's one less person that's unemployed. That's one less person that is relying on a failing system to hold them up. Instead, they're holding themselves up, and then they go to the stores and buy things. And in general, if anyone steps up and does anything right now, instead of just sitting around doing nothing, it's going to help everybody. And there's a lot more opportunity now than there was before COVID.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, you're not taking a salary from this, but what you're doing wouldn't be negatively impacted if you were. So, if you're like hurting for money, like you said, like there's an opportunity here where you can, if you make something that will help people and make their lives better and stuff like that, like you're not don't gouge people, but if you can provide something and give yourself a job while helping people in this time, that's a really great thing. That's a very moral thing, like to provide a service or a product that people need or want anyway. They're not going to buy anything they don't want or need. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. Where can people see what you're up to and donate and things like that? Because I want to try and support the different stories that I'm going to do on this podcast. So I want to help people to get in touch with you and follow your story, because I think it's a great one.
Okay. Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, the easiest way is the website. It's www.printtheppe.com. The website's pretty basic. It's essentially you go there, you sign up, you say what you have to offer and what you have to or what you need. And the two are not necessarily linked. So if you need something, you don't have to make a donation or anything like that. That's actually one of the things that we want the most right now, is requests for things like masks, because we mass produce them and now they're being distributed. LA has the Honeywell plant. So having homes for these masks to go to would actually help us a lot. It would get them out of our shop. They would get to where they need to be. And then as far as materials, we take actual physical materials and we take cash. So physical materials would be things like elastic and stuff like that, stuff that we could use, so we don't have to go out and expose ourselves at the stores or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Printtheppe.com, and I'll put a link in the show notes. Absolutely. Chris, thank you for taking some time. I know you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate you coming out here. I hope people follow your story and contribute to your efforts, and then also maybe get inspired a little bit to think of different ways that they can do it. So thank you very much, man. It's great to see you.
Thank you for putting this together.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Later.
Hello, and here is part 2 of my Entrepreneurship During COVID podcast. This next section, my guest is Sigal Spitzer, another former student of mine that I'm just very proud of. It's really awesome to see students of mine kind of stepping up during this tough time and working hard to try and be a part of the solution, because for you educators out there, I mean, that's really the big goal. The big goal is to be some sort of even very small piece to get young people to feel like they can improve the world and make positive changes. So it's really awesome to see. And she, along with her husband and brother, are doing something really incredible. And I'm glad that they were able to come on this podcast, or Sigal is here to come on the podcast and talk about what she's doing. So Sigal, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting.
Yes. So tell us about this business that you guys started just recently. What is it called, and what does it do?
So I am one of the co-founders of I Lost My Job to Coronavirus. And we are essentially a platform to connect users. Users are people who are unemployed or furloughed or dealing with employment issues due to coronavirus, with various employment resources and opportunities. So we serve as the platform, the one-stop shop for people who are looking for resources and opportunities during this pandemic to go and find opportunities.
So there's 3 of you involved in this, correct?
Yes, it's me and my younger brother who is doing all of the the coding, the design of the website, and my husband who's doing most of the big picture strategy and developing key partnerships with some external companies.
Okay, and what is your background?
So I actually am just finishing up my senior year in college. And, this whole idea really came about because my job was postponed a few months, and I've been around friends and family members whose jobs have just been totally canceled or they've been laid off because of coronavirus. And what I felt is that, there's a real health crisis and there's a real pandemic going on in the world, but what is not receiving enough attention, and where I felt like my skills and my background could make the biggest difference, is helping those who are in need and who are fighting a battle on the unemployment front. So my background, which is mostly in business administration, management, marketing, consumer psychology, and behavioral economics, I felt like this was a niche where I could go in and really make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the unemployment numbers they're terrifying, and I don't know where this is going to go. So there's a lot of people who have skills that are now unable to utilize those skills. And there seems to be a lot of work that needs to get done. So you guys are essentially linking the two of them. Is that kind of the idea?
Exactly. So as you mentioned, there are a lot of trends in the general industry right now. And what we have identified, of course, is the unemployment crisis. But what is so unique about the unemployment crisis right now is it's not like everyone who has been furloughed or laid off is going to be able to go back to their job. I mean, there's so many jobs that won't be able to continue as what we used to consider normal because of health risks and other concerns. So one of our primary goals is to help with the realignment of talent in industries. Of course, there are some companies, whether they're grocery companies or food delivery companies, that have really needed to hire a lot of people during this pandemic. So one thing that we're trying to do is reshuffle the workforce and help people find jobs, whether it's in their particular industry or in something tangentially related to what they previously did that can still help them and benefit them during this time.
Okay. So what would be the difference between this company and other employment services? What would they be, like ZipRecruiter or something like that?
Totally. It's like a great question. How do we identify ourselves and how do we differentiate from our competitors? I think when we started this idea, we wanted to provide two key values to our users, those that our competitors don't at all have. So the first is, because of the unique situation of coronavirus and the unemployment crisis that is happening right now, people need community. And that is really the first need that people are looking to. They want to feel a part of something where unemployment is not stigmatized, where they can feel like everyone is going through the exact same thing. And while watching the news every day, we might see that there's almost 40 million people unemployed in America. That number is really hard to grasp when it's a number and it's not a face or a friend or a comment on a post or an encouraging message that you receive from a friend. So one of our key features on our website is actually a global map where you can see other people who have registered and see their industry and their interests and feel almost a part of the same story. With the same story, what we also realized is, of course, people want work. And as we spoke about before, there is this shift in industries going on. There's new job opportunities arising. There's the concept of remote work, which didn't really used to exist before now. And what we wanted to do is to help people find jobs more easily and to help people find jobs in untraditional ways. So another value proposition that we really promote is that we work with recruiters directly that hire candidates for specific roles. But what again makes us unique is that there's complete transparency. People are working from home, people are dealing with sick family members and new situations all around. And we want this to be a comfortable hiring experience where everything is out on the table. You see who searches you can search people as well. And it's really a community of people trying to help each other find jobs and find the support that they need during this time, be it on an employment front or a community front.
Oh, that sounds, the idea of community, I'm with you on that. It's something that I've talked about a lot, even before the, coronavirus hit. I was listening to Naval Ravikant, the like kind of modern day philosopher, angel investor guy, and he was saying that he sees the future as kind of Uber of everything. So like engineers, there's like an Uber. You need an engineer? Here's a whole bunch of them. You know, you need a kind of like almost like day laborers. But we always think about that as just like building a deck. But it can be with people who have specific skills. And that we're kind of in this situation now where there's all these people with all these skills, and then there's jobs that need to get done, even new jobs. So to blend those two things together, it seems like where we were headed anyway. And this just accelerated us getting to that point where, you know, I'm here, I register, and then here's all the things I'm capable of. And then someone else needs someone who has a whole bunch of skills. And it just seems like a match that it just matches up so well. It's a brilliant idea. What prompted you, like all three of you have these specific skills. So what prompted you to the three of you to sit around and go, okay, there's a problem in front of us. What can we do? It gets kind of meta because you have these skills, your brother has these skills, your husband has these skills. And then you go, okay, well, these skills are in demand. So let's use them to try and help people, which is kind of what you're doing with the company, is taking people with skills and then using that to help people fill a need. So what prompted you to actually get involved? Because that's a big part of why I want to do this podcast, is to have listeners go, I have skills, I have abilities. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can start a company. Maybe I can do something, kind of like how Chris did in the earlier section as well. So what prompted you, Sigal, to kind of dive in and want to start a company?
Well, you know, I think it's a really great question and gets at the heart of everybody during the pandemic just wanting to make a difference and wanting to help those around. And what we did is we created this humanitarian free resource for users, for recruiters, for anyone who wants to come and join our community and come and find employment opportunities. And what really prompted us is we couldn't sit home and we couldn't sit on the couch and be stuck indoors without feeling like we were helping other people. And exactly what you're saying, it's leveraging your skills and leveraging the opportunities that you personally have and the experiences that you've had in the past to make a difference. It could be something so small as going to the supermarket and picking up groceries for somebody who's immunocompromised. It could be something small as delivering a mask to somebody who needs one. There's these small acts of kindness that go such a long way in times that are pressured, in times that are scary, in times that are uncertain. And we feel like we wanted to make our dent on the community and help those that are unemployed. In particular, what's so interesting about the unemployed community is that the unemployed community is more diverse than ever. Unemployment today ranges from the most high-paying, powerful CEOs of companies to the most low-paying, average, hourly workers that are also struggling through this crisis. And where we felt like we could help is to provide a service to equalize the situation, to make people feel like it is not just me, it is not just my circumstance, it is everyone. It's all of America, and it's the whole world going through the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a grind, though. I mean, I really commend you and the people I'm going to have on this episode, because we, like you said, we all sit around, we all go, oh man, I can't just sit around and watch this happen. But then most of us do. Most of us just go, there's nothing I can do, because it's such a grind to start a company and to go out and hustle and do all the stuff that you're doing. It really is hard work. But I mean, it's almost like, do you have something better to do than try to improve the world? Like, is there anything better use of your time than to help people that are really desperately in need of it right now? Like, it seems like a good way if you're going to do a grind, it sounds like a good grind to do. So whatever that is, for the listeners, whatever it is that you need motivation, maybe it's hearing stories of people who lost their jobs. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's diving into individual stories, talking to people, going out of your world, because you might be in a world that isn't affected much at all, but then you go out of that a little bit and you talk to people who are deeply affected. Maybe that'll be some motivation. But whatever you need to do to get motivated to do that hard work, then this is something that, something awesome can emerge from this terrible time. and it's because of entrepreneurs like you. Yeah.
And just to add in a small note to the listeners, I think what we really recognize is that this passion project of ours that has emerged in a company, we still consider a passion project. And it starts from the small acts. It starts by helping one person find a job or connecting one person with an employment resource. And it evolves into much more than that, of course. But it's not about tackling the unemployment crisis at large. It's about helping individual people and helping individual situations improve. So again, for the listeners, it doesn't matter how big, it doesn't matter how global, it's just a matter about doing good and having a passion and moving forward with it.
And, getting in at kind of the ground floor of a company, what that does is I think it gives you a chance to provide feedback to help grow the company, but also you get, real attention to achieving your goals. So I want to have you, guide the listeners into how they can find you, whether it's contribute or sign up or whatever. And I will say, because I do know you and your brother personally, like this is one where I can kind of vouch that, if you provide your personal information, it's not going to get sold. This isn't, as it stands now, it's not a for-profit.
And we have no plans of going for profit.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, and I said, I'm not even against, someone turning a profit, helping people. I think that's fine. But, it's not, I think people get worried when they put their email and their personal information that it'll be sold to, the highest bidder, like data mining stuff. There's none of that. So if you lost your job or someone who lost their job during coronavirus, which you probably do, then I would think it's worth a shot to sign up and see what comes of it, because you really don't have anything to lose. If you're looking for work, this is something that I think is beneficial, because you might be getting paid. I know people who are getting paid more on this unemployment, especially with the additional $600 a week, than they were making before. But that's not going to last. You're going to have to get new employment. And I think the sooner that we get on it, the better. So Sigal, where can people find you? It's I lost my job to coronavirus.com.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have social media or anything like that yet?
You can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Our handle is I lost my job to coronavirus, or just the first initial of each word. So ILMJTCV.
That's great. Okay. Thank you very much. That's awesome. And I will encourage the listeners just to go check it out, contribute, help out, spread the word, because that's what this is all about. That's why I have this podcast, and doing this podcast is to try and take the people that are actually trying to be change makers and encourage them and support them so that we can get out of this together. And I think that's really important. Anything else that you want to share?
I think just, if you have an idea, if you have a passion, don't be afraid to start small and to try to help those who need help and who are most vulnerable during this challenging time. And to you, thank you so much for having us, and we look forward to listening to the podcast.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sigal. Hello, and welcome to the third and final part of this episode about entrepreneurship during COVID. And my guest today is Dimitris Nicolaou. And I actually heard about him on Simon Sinek's YouTube channel or something. And I didn't know Dimitris' name, but he mentioned what Dimitris Pizza Shop is doing. And I was like, that actually inspired me to do this podcast with the other guests, with Sigal and with Chris. And then I reached out to Dimitri, and he got back to me, which is just so cool. So it's really, thank you for inspiring me to talk about others who are doing this and get it out there. And we can maybe, turn this into a bunch of ripple effects of entrepreneurship during COVID. So please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you did.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my name is Dimitri, as you mentioned. I'm the owner of Dimitris Pizza. It's a small pizza company in Chicago. We've been around for about 12 years. We've got locations in Wrigleyville and Wicker Park. And we're a pizza by the slice joint. We're known for our crazy toppings. We're really fun. We're quirky. We're sort of very of the people. Like whoever's working there at the time, they it's like they're on the stage and they get to just be themselves, and it's like it makes it a very homey environment. People really feel comfortable when they come in.
Oh, very cool.
But obviously harder to do that when COVID is taking place.
Right. Yeah, because it would transfer over to more delivery and stuff like that, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. And when COVID hit, that's exactly what happened. We transitioned, our entire dining model transitioned to delivery, and that was all we had. In fact, I wouldn't even say delivery. I would say it transitioned into e-commerce. That's the real transition that made.
Right. Yeah.
And when that took place, we're sort of faced with well, can we survive with that? Or is it going to be enough? And also, at the same time, the United States especially was clearly in the midst of, struggling with how it was going to respond from a medical perspective to COVID. And it did not look like we were ready, to me. And so we started to think about, well, what could we do to help? And we sort of went through a whole bunch of different options. And in the end, we settled on face shields. Because it seemed like those were in low supply, and it seemed like we had some ovens that weren't being used, and we had some people that didn't have anything to do, and we're like, well, if we can put these people to work and we can make something that's going to help people, why would we not do that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's the way I'm kind of seeing so much in society is we have people that have skills and abilities, and then we have things that need skills and abilities. And I think we're just so inefficient as people still. I mean, we're getting more efficient as, humanity continues, but we're still just so inefficient that we need to look zoom out a little bit. What do we have? What can we do? And you put those together, and being able to pivot is really incredible. So what needed to get done so I'm guessing you had to clean out some pepperonis and stuff to make sure that the face shields come out. They have grease on them and some green peppers or something like that. You had to pivot the business a bit. I think that people struggle with that. People struggle Blockbuster Video. It's no, we're not doing delivery. And then you go out of business. And I think being an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to pivot with the times. You have to, right?
I mean, that's a necessary part of it. I think that we are going right now through, and the world is going through an enormous transition for a variety of reasons. You see it right now in the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah. It started with COVID. It's moving to that, and it's continuing. All these things are picking up steam in this really beautiful sort of way, where it's people realize hey, we have to do things different. What we have been doing, the assumptions about what and how the world works, that it's just those assumptions they're not really panning out, and it's not really fair. And so you have to now, I love what you said, zoom out. The phrase that I kept coming back to was there's the Buddhist sentiment, the idea of beginner's mind, to be able to approach everything and look at it just for what it is, as if you just came to it the very first day and you looked at it and you're what is that thing? Oh, it is an oven. It warms things up. What do we need to warm up? And, instead of thinking it's a pizza oven, we use it to reheat slices. So I think as we look at the problems that we face today, as we go through this enormous transformation, everybody is going to have some assets that they can utilize, or even if it's their own internal skills, and they're going to need to approach those skills or those assets and say, what is needed in this world right now? What serves the moment? What is going to serve us moving forward? And see all those skills as something brand new. And if they can do that, I think that they will pivot with the moment, and they will help everything move into the future.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking of when you say that we are a creative shop where they kind of have all this stuff going on, it's that makes me think about, well, of course you're going to come up with a creative way to deal with COVID then. It's how you do something is how you do everything. And I don't think it would be a coincidence that it would happen at somewhere like Demos, that it might not happen elsewhere. You guys are already thinking outside of the box. So it's less of a journey. You're less rigid, it seems like we have to do this, and you're trying to force this through, and you seem to be a little bit more go with the flow, which seems to be serving. I mean, is this something that you have turned into a business, the PPE?
Yeah, we actually, well, it started because originally we thought that, I mean, this is like circa mid-March, right? Maybe like the 19th or so was when I first thought we could make face shields. And I bugged a friend and he eventually helped me and sort of thought through the manufacturing. And I thought at that time that we would be able to get them to hospitals, to like big hospitals that would need, hundreds of thousands of shields, because it looked like they didn't have them. And that was, I don't know about you, but that was terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clear we had like just completely botched the response, but to know that the hospital systems weren't going to be ready was just like so demoralizing. So that was the original impetus. But in the end, though, some of the wealthier and bigger hospitals, they found sources, and so they were fine. Okay. So then it became about, well, what about the organizations that are smaller, that aren't as well funded? And we were able to raise a bunch of funds and give away our entire first production run. And now we're sort of looking more at what are the other organizations that are starting to open, and COVID's still around. It didn't disappear, right? And when you think about the people that are going back to work right now in the industries that they're in, they need protection. And so now, if you go to dimitrispizza.com, there's a little button for face shields. We had to build a Shopify site. We put them on there. So we're selling there as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and I'll make sure I put that in the notes. How do you get, this is going to be a tough question probably for you to answer, but like, how do you get the mindset that you have, Dimitri? Like, how is it that were you around entrepreneurship? My wife's an entrepreneur and I am not. So she was the one who was like, you should start a podcast. You should put your classroom online. You should do this. And I'm like, no, that's too crazy. But she was kind of brought into that. She's an immigrant, came here, didn't have much. They hustled. Like, we're like, super, kind of waspy white kid from Pennsylvania, where we had a 9-to-5. That's what you do. Like, where did this mindset come from? And is it something that you can learn or give us some insight to for the people listening of like, I want to do, because what this podcast is really for the kids out there or old people who are like, I feel helpless. And this can go for like the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests, all that stuff too. I feel helpless. What can I do? I don't know. What kind of like, how can you steer those people?
Well, I think there's sort of two parts to that question. One is what can individuals do to help in the moment, and the other one is can the idea of innovation and entrepreneurship get taught? I'm going to answer the second one first,
okay.
Or the first one first that I just expressed, which is that I think that everybody has a different skill. Mm-hmm. They are good at something. And a lot of times people undervalue how important it is for them to do that good thing. And if they just would sort of like get the idea that like, I can't help out of my way and just, again, approach whatever problem that they feel passionate about, whatever problem they feel can help people, and they just do that one good thing. Like, look, here you are making a podcast, talking to people, and look, it's reaching people. And everyone has some skill. And if they just put it to use in the service of other people, that's all you need to do. It's not like some rocket scientist formulation. It's just, you have something that you are the best at in the whole world, that is unique to who you are. Do that in the service of others and everything will be fine. Is sort of what my take has been. And I think that making the face shields and going through this process, I watched that happen from so many people over and over and over again. And in the small business, I see the same thing. It's just sort of reinforced my feeling that, we're already born with these skills. It's just we have to be able to be, sort of in a mindset where we can put them to use.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so weird because I think young people, especially, they really want to make money. They want to be, a baller. They want to, be a hustler and all that kind of stuff. But they're thinking about it like, how do I get what I want? I want the car. I want the blah, blah. Where the truth is, you will have value. You will be valuable when you bring value to others. And it's just like, Of course, like Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. Okay. And even if he's, maybe not such a sweetheart, the fact is that Amazon is incredible. And, maybe it doesn't treat people right and blah, 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 blah. But it is incredible and people find it valuable. Otherwise, they wouldn't be giving him their business. So if you, I love that concept just for people out there. Like, what do I do? It's like, well, you be you and use that to serve others. And if you are actually serving others, they will find value in you and whatever it is that you do. That seems to be the way that it works. And I think it's unfortunate that element of capitalism or business doesn't get a fair shake. I think that's something that we need to talk about more about business and business owners and stuff. Is like the only way they're going to survive is if they're serving people and people see value in them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that Jeff Bezos is the poster child for taking a skill set and serving others, but I do understand what you're saying there. I think a lot of times the thing that is most important and that what allows people to be able to do that freely is that they need to have confidence. And if we live in a society where people are brought up and told and believe that they have intrinsic value and worth, then they have that confidence. But and I kind of want to address the point that you asked at the very beginning. You asked, like, where did I get this from? I got this from my dad. He, as I mentioned, he was born in Istanbul. He's Greek. The Turks and the Greeks don't historically get along. They fled in '65 to get out. They fled to New Zealand. That's where he grew up. Oh. And I remember getting in trouble one time and him just like yelling at me. And he said, like, you know, like his dad didn't leave everything that he had for you to just like piss away your opportunity. And I never forgot that. And he kept reinforcing in me that you have this opportunity, that it is valuable. And I am blessed with that. I am lucky that I have that, but I am also cognizant of the many, many, many people that grow up in this country that are not told that. And when you're not told that, before you can even find that gift, you have to unlearn all these messages that you receive from society. And that's hard. And I think that's sort of the moment that we face right now is how can we do that? How can we rise to this occasion to recognize we don't have a fair society? It has not been good for everybody. We maybe went through 70 years of prosperity, but it wasn't for everyone. Yeah. And that is a reckoning that is taking place right now. And it requires a lot of introspection. And even though it's scary, it still is an opportunity for something new, and I'm excited about that part.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that, people need to understand that they are capable of more than maybe society tells them that they are, or their parents or whoever is telling them. I heard, I don't know if it's always applicable, but I heard someone say yesterday about the soft bigotry of low expectations. Is that within this, the encouragement of, especially when we're talking about like marginalized communities, is like holding up high expectations because people can meet them. Like I think that's something that you see, when you interact with people, like diverse people, you start the stereotypes and the way that people are kind of put in these boxes that these people are like this, all that starts going away. And you realize people are individuals, and all those individuals have something to contribute that's really powerful. And I agree with you. I'm actually optimistic about the place that we're kind of at, 3 months into COVID now. So, talking to entrepreneurs like yourself who are finding opportunities in that, and people who are trying to wake up to the idea that like, hey, we can do better as a society, and we can, get more equality of opportunity and all of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can, and it seems to hold water. So, where can people, you said demospizza.com, and where else can people kind of see what you're doing, support it, and things like that? Obviously on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. Okay. On Instagram, it is what? It's Demos Pizza?
Yeah,
okay.
Just the same thing. And you can check us out there and follow along. And if you got questions, DM us. We're down to chat.
Awesome. Rad. All right. Well, thank you, Dimitri. Thank you for taking time out. I know you're busy, and I'm glad to see it. Very, very cool.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Take care.
This has been Cylinder Radio. The success of this podcast and the educational revolution that I hope you will be a part of is dependent on those who find value in it.
Please take a few moments to review us on iTunes so the show is more easily found. If there was a perspective on today's topic that was not highlighted in this episode, or you have an idea for an episode topic that you want to understand more deeply, please email us at cylinderradio@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at Will Roosh, WILLREUSCH. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to the next one.